y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Two Scrippers, One Motherfucking Po. Where's my mic? Because y'all know I got a little Mikey mic. I think I took that out already. Whew. It's been a week, y'all. It has been a week. This is a day of recording because this week has just been so hectic. Like, y'all, I have plans, right? Specifically just in terms of like recording a lot of episodes, and I have all my notes. I have all the plans for the episodes, but July has just been busy, go. But we're finally at the end. Today is July 25th. We got 6 more days of the month, and a lot can happen in 6 days. Because last week, did I record on Tuesday or Wednesday? I think I recorded Tuesday, and then was able to release it, or that's what happened. I recorded Tuesday, and then I think I might have edited and scheduled on Wednesday because last Thursday your girl was in New York City. Yeah. Before I get into that, and so much has happened since then, is wow. So before I get into that, just some quick corrections. When I was talking about abortion, there was one point where I had said abortion care, but I really meant pregnancy care. And now that I'm saying it out loud, I can't remember the context, but I think I was just saying, that there's a lot more that goes into why health risk associated with pregnancy is the reason why some people get abortions. It's not always just, I've been screwing around and I don't want to take care of a baby. And even if that's your reason, that's valid. It's so fucking expensive to take care of one person, right? And so bringing a child into that, you gotta pay. Let's not even get started on how much it costs to give birth. That's ridiculous. Then you have to actually feed and take care of this child, and you are responsible more than less, you're responsible for this becoming a productive and kind member of society. And we see how well people do with that, right? And so then other people are like, oh, well, that's one of the consequences of having kids and having sex. So, you shouldn't be having sex. But the reality of it is people have sex. And people, like I said last week, and how I've said in a couple episodes, is that the reality of it is people are having sex, and people are always going to have sex, and that's how we reproduce as a people, right? Now, you could do IVF or you could do something else, but that still requires somebody at least can they withdraw sperm from your nutsack directly? I know with egg extraction they can because we can't just nut out eggs. So doctors, if I have any doctors listening, can you extract sperm from the nuts? Or is it just you have to just wank it out every time? I asked that because, as I was saying before I cut my own self off, it's masturbation, self-pleasure. And you can do solo masturbation or partner masturbation. So regardless, masturbation is a part of sexual education. Knowing that you can please yourself. And honestly, we should encourage more masturbation. Why? Because it helps you learn your body. So that way, when you are ready to have sex with other people, you can have a better experience because you know what you like, so you can advocate for yourself. Is that dude missing the turntable? He's over there on your thigh? No, baby, move it over this way. I need you to wiki. Now, wiki. Change up the tempo, right? And because I know how to do that to myself, because I know what feels good, I can articulate that better to my partner. If they're helping me, go to the ones and twos. And if I don't have a partner, if I'm just like, I want to stick to myself right now, or maybe I'm asexual, or whatever the case may be, you know, I have more knowledge about my body, and I'm not shamed for exploring my body. Um, yeah. So many reasons that go. Oh, I think, did I finish that thought? I think I did, but it's just like, you oh, that was where I was saying that some people will try to use the excuse of like, well, you shouldn't be having sex, da 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 da. The fact of the matter is that people are having sex, whether it be self pleasure or with a partner or partners. And so to provide them with that knowledge to make more informed decisions. And I don't have like a particular study. I just remember that when I took child development in high school, the teacher, we were doing something. I don't remember if we were watching or reading, but whatever the course material was at the time, it was talking about how like when you tell people don't do something, or no 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 no, it is more likely to have the adverse effect. So if you're telling kids like don't run, they're more likely to run. If you're like, the way to rephrase that would be, can you please walk slowly, or run at a slower pace, speed walk. This is off the dome, but you get the point. Like, so if you're telling people not to have sex, then they're just gonna go have the sex, and now what's happening is they're not going to communicate that. They're not going to talk to anybody about that. So if I have sex, even though everybody's preaching abstinence only education, if I go and have sex and I do have a negative experience, or even if I have a positive experience, I feel like I internalize that guilt. And then maybe, depending on my setting, my environment, who that is, that may turn into shame. And then I feel bad for that, and I don't want to either continue exploring it, or I don't feel safe talking to the people around me, but I still have this like interest, so I'm gonna keep doing it. But with every like, if it's not easy access, or if I'm not able to talk about it, then it just puts me further in harm's way. Whereas if we're having open and honest discussions about this, then everyone is better off, right? um on the tip of masturbation, it's so funny because I remember like when I was younger, and as I've said in other episodes, my mom has always been sex positive. So I was lucky enough that like, and I honestly don't even remember any of my health classes. Like, I never had a health class that really, except for in college, I did have, I forget what class it was, but I had this old white lady. She was so cute. She had to be like, I want to say she was at least 70, to be for real. And that was like really the first time that I had a teacher, and it's college, so it's more appropriate in that sense. But it was the first time that I had a teacher talk about like, y'all really should not, like, the emphasis that we put on porn is just unrealistic. And that's when she started talking about like erotica and things like that. And I do remember she was telling us once, she's like, I might be old, but me and my husband still get it. I was like, oh my God, I don't need to think about that. But like, I respect it, right? Like, I'm trying to be you, and I'm on that path, right? Listen, I'm about to be 80 and busting it, okay? All right, get my little cane, bends over, throw that ass back. Might lock a knee or two, but it's okay. All right. But really, I'm not going to lock my knees. Why? Because sex is good for you. All right. Sex is a form of exercise. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to still be busting this ass when I'm 80. Okay. But I remember her talking about like her and her husband. But I do remember this is really the first experience that I ever had with sensation play. And I remember her saying that like, instead of just rushing into sex, like she actually talked about foreplay, and she was like, you know, you and your partner take some time, maybe even consider blindfolding each other, or if you don't have blindfolds, listen, she was a freak. If you don't have blindfolds, just like close your eyes and trust the other, and just like take the time to explore each other's bodies, touch each other's bodies. And I remember trying that like maybe a couple days after that class, and I was like, wow, it really does make a difference. I never, that was in a specific relationship, and it was cool and all, but then, you know, everything else. So I didn't really come back to the idea of sensation play until I started doing sex work, and I started doing my research as a Dom. And yeah, masturbation. That's how I got here. um, so when I was younger, though, I didn't care for masturbation. And for me, my like people were like, oh, why don't you masturbate? Da, da, da. It was like, you know, I would like flicky myself. But I didn't masturbate often. And I really didn't care for toys because for me, I would always, the reason like people were like, oh, you don't masturbate, da da da. My reason that I would give was because a toy can't scratch me or like bite me or like interact with me, right? So that was always the reason. And I would say when I went to Mexico on the cruise and I had got some toys, that was really when I first started exploring masturbating and what that means for me. And I remember I had this cute, it was a vibrating butt plug. It was like a little tiny thing. And I didn't do butt stuff at that point. But I had bought it anyway. And this is after I came back from Mexico. Because when I went to Mexico, we stopped in Key West, Florida, and I had got like two vibrating dildos. I think I still have one till this day. And then I had some Benoit balls, metal, 50 Shades of Grey themed. I still have them. I love them so much. So those were like my first three real toys. I had bought a battery powered rabbit in college, like a few years earlier than that, because I remember having like from Adam and Eve, and I remember having a conversation with my friends. I'm like, oh my god, you need to try a toy, da da da, and I was like, but it can't do what I needed to do, and it was like, just try it. So I bought like the cheapest one, and I was like, this is why I don't fuck with toys. So then I just kind of kept that experience like at the forefront, and then for whatever reason, when I went to Key West, I ended up getting those toys, and it really changed the game for me. So then I had got that one toy that was meant to be a vibrating butt plug, and I never used it as a butt plug. I used it as a clit stem, and that was when I had already been able to squirt. Before that, I remember the first time I squirted, it was just like a little drip, 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 drop, drip, drippity drop. Shout out Empire. I watched that whole seat. Like when I lived with my mom after my last like breakup, I spent that summer just like catching up on TV shows, and I rewatched all of Empire, and it just got more and more and more ridiculous. Honestly, I'm surprised like they didn't fucking have aliens and spaceships by the end of the series. It did kind of blow me that like you never got to see the like, because in the last season they kept alluding to like Cookie getting blown up, and then I think what, Lucius got shot, or was it Lucius, Cookie got shot and Lucius blew up? I don't know, but they just kept referring, like they kept opening the season with those, and then it just ended at like a shootout at like some award ceremony, and I'm like, what the fuck? But that was because COVID had happened and it stopped the thing. And so then I guess they realized like we're just at the point where we just need to stop this because this is getting ridiculous. I was talking, before I was talking about that, I was talking about, was I still on the masturbation tip? No. Toys, yes, clit stem. Squirting. That's where I was like, because I was like the drip, drip, drippity drop. I'll be getting there, you know. So yeah, that toy really started, and at that same time, that's where I started getting more into like lingerie. And I had some really nice wigs, and so I was just really like, I would make a whole thing out of it, of like, let me put on my wig, let me do my makeup a little bit, let me put on some lingerie, let me like play with myself. So I would have literally like a whole date night to myself, looking good for myself and pleasuring myself, right? And then I just kind of started going from there. So like I would record myself, and I remember it was like when I first moved in here, it was when I really got into it. And I remember like I would record myself masturbating for like 6-7 minutes, and I would watch it back, and I'd be like, fuck, and I would have to masturbate again. And that was like a cycle for my life for a little bit. But doing that really is when I started to get more connected with myself and my sex. And honestly, that led me down a path to where I am now. So, that was all part of it. Started out with that correction. What else? I meant to say SEO, not CEO. I was talking about how I keep getting emails from people like, oh, your reach could be better and da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm not in any position in this moment to really like, this podcast is going to blow up. My life is going to listen. I am abundant with great things, okay? If you don't know, now you know, and you'll see it. All right. Oh, okay. However, comma, universe, not in this moment right now. I'm not like, I'm abundant with great things. It's a lot going on. Thank you for everything that you have bestowed upon me in the past like 2 years, for all of my life, but really within the past 2 years. But I need you, just like I needed you to hear me last night. I'm not your strongest shoulder, or not last night, last week. I'm not your strongest soldier, not shoulder or soldier. I am not your strongest soldier. So, what I was saying before I tongue tied myself is that I know that we're going to make it big one of these days. So, I'm just asking you to slow the pace a little bit, because I need to get some things on order before that happens. Okay, thank you. Amen. Hallelujah. I haven't had a cup of tea in a while, actually. Oh, my quote says, without the darkness, you would never know the light. And I talk about that all the time. Like, we have to sometimes hit a rock bottom. I think about 2 years ago when me and my ex had broke up, and that was a really hard time for me, because I just knew that, well, I told myself we were going to be together, because compared to other relationships that had been the best thus far. And I still like, and that was a relationship where I was like, okay. Before, I didn't even want to get into it, because I was already just done with dating. And that's when I should have listened to myself, right? Like, everything's a lesson. That relationship for me was, ultimately, the lesson was to listen to my fucking self. But in that, I also found the parts of myself, like, and I just think about like how much of a fucking narcissist that man is. And he's like, see, I did do something good for you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Okay? Fuck you. I would wish something on you but karma. So I don't need that to come back. All I wish is that you get your life together and you can find peace and stop being like a freaking, I don't even want to say demon, because I don't think you're a demon, but like, you need to find peace within yourself so that you stop causing chaos in everybody else's life. If you ever come across this, don't talk to me, don't reach out to me. I could care less. Don't want to have any conversation with you. Pay me my money that you fucking owe me. But other than that, I do wish you peace and happiness, and hope that you can like really get your life together. And that goes for everybody, right? Because life is hard enough. Like, I don't want anybody out here struggling, But back to what I was saying, it was like in that relationship though, I really got to experience and learn to value travel. Like we traveled a lot and we traveled really well together. And like we did, besides like character flaws, I would say, both on both of our parts, right? Because I'm not about to sit here and act like, oh, I was such a perfect girlfriend. But I tried hard. I tried, and it wasn't to appease the other person. It was because I was tired of like my toxic traits, right? So trying to be more honest, trying to be more open, and cuz like I had the thing of shutting down a lot in relationships, like just like, okay, I would we present each other with, this isn't working, how can we fix it? And then it's just like I would hear you out, okay, right? And my philosophy is just kind of like, I hear you, now it's my turn to actually implement what you've asked me to do. And I would do that with other people, and I would see that I was the one fixing behavior and they weren't really doing anything. um but yeah, I would say definitely just like my love of travel, my love of wine. Because one thing we were gonna do, we were gonna go to a motherfucking winery, okay? Like, and that's was such a shame. This is not about that relationship, but it was like, I look back and I'm like, dang, you just had to fuck up. You just had to, because even if it didn't work out relationship wise, we could have been friends. Like we meshed well, but you just got some shit you need to deal with. But anyway, I don't really remember why exactly I brought that up. What else? I don't think it's really, well, okay, so we're still in corrections, y'all. We're 20 minutes in. And I haven't even really started talking about what I wanted to talk about. Well, yeah, I guess I'll talk about those because it kind of leads into, so last week too, when I was talking about like Project 2025, trying to get rid of the Department of Education, and I was talking about how like they're trying to fund private schools. So a little bit of a correction there. Essentially that's what they're trying to do, but without saying that's what they're trying to do. So what they're trying to do is defund the Department of Education, dismantle that, and take that money to give directly to parents to fund them going into their children going into private school. So it's like presented as parents' choice. But whether you're funding the private schools directly or you're funding the parents for that, like you're incentivizing the children to go, you're incentivizing the parents to enroll their children into private school. So it still becomes the same thing. And then you have like, actually, let me pull it up because Impact had, y'all know I love me some Impact, okay? That is one of my very favorite, what the fuck? Yo, white people be tripping. What are you doing and why? What is that? Gilbert Arenas? That is not Gilbert Arenas. What am I talking about? I'm looking for Impact. Y'all, bear with me. Okay. Ooh, I was about to say, it's not trying to load. That's crazy. So, so it is, this is known as school choice, and, Trump is trying to say that his version is different, but essentially they're the same thing. Is that taking funding from public education and give it to the parents to help them pay tuition of private schools. And Project 2025 says that verbatim, families and students do not need a Department of Education to learn, grow, and improve their lives. And so going into what I was saying last week is that 84% of America's 32,000 private schools are religious, which helps MAGA further blur the lines and erode the separation of church and state. Um, and then what this also becomes is like, this is introducing religion more into K through 12, which, introducing religion is a great thing. I took one of my favorite classes in undergrad was Introduction to Religious Studies, and we studied the five major: Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, right? And I would say that was definitely one of the most interesting classes I had taken. So I think it's important, right, if you're introducing the concept of religion, but which religion are you introducing? And are you introducing it, or are you really trying to enforce it and indoctrinate people? Let's talk about it, right? So it's like you'll say certain things and you'll leave out pertinent information because you're not really trying to introduce religion. You're trying to introduce Christianity and get people to convert to Christianity or live by Christian values. And this is for all my Christian people. This is not like a shot at y'all, because y'all get enough shots. Because anyway, but it's like, yeah, y'all know what I'm trying to say. I saw a bird, I got distracted. Also burying LGBTQIA plus identities and stories, pushing abstinence only education, and rewrite the history of slavery. There was something like, one of the things that I had read last week was talking about like, oh, you can what was the verbatim? It was like that we can move forward as America and still acknowledge the past. But y'all aren't doing that. Y'all are literally banning books and try to make it seem like slavery was just like another Tuesday in the park. Like, oh yeah, we just brought some niggas over on a boat, made them fucking grow some cotton, and then we're here now. Like, and completely negating all of the pain and trauma that you instilled and still do put on Black Americans. Okay. And Black people. And you don't want to acknowledge systemic racism. It's like literally, every day I find out the racist roots of something else. And it's just like, y'all try so hard to act like this shit don't exist. But it's right in front of us every day, literally in everything. It's like almost, y'all put, I started a new face wash routine, and I got this face wash because I was using a soap bar, like I think it was a Cetaphil soap bar, but I like foamy. I need it. If I'm washing my face and the face wash don't foam, I feel like I'm not washing my face. So I was using soap, like a bar soap, and that was doing pretty well, but it just wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So then I ended up getting like some pump face wash on my little like exfoliator pad, and I've started putting coconut oil on my face because it'd be so hot in here that my jar of coconut oil, because originally I had bought the coconut oil to put on my teeth because it helps not get as much plaque. But I've also started tongue scraping, and that helps too. First of all, tongue scraping, get into it. Any foot boys on here? Look at my foot. Look it, bitch. If you'd like to book a foot worship session, email your girl, Mistress Mango at proton.me. 21 plus, ID verification, and don't forget my motherfucking tribute, $ Temptress Mango. Oh, anyway, I was talking about tongue scrapers, plaque, and brushing teeth. Yes, I had the coconut oil to put on my teeth after brushing my teeth. But like, sometimes I'll start a practice and then just completely forget about it. So that was one of those things. And then I had noticed a couple weeks ago that my coconut jar just completely melted because it's so fucking hot. So then I just started putting it on my face. And so I brought that up because I'm looking at the camera and the ring light is glowing. And I think some coconut oil might have gotten into my eye. But yes, so it's like, if you're really truly trying to better America, cool. But you're quite literally not trying to acknowledge the foundations of which this country was built. And that is on the backs of my enslaved ancestors, our enslaved ancestors. And you haven't even really redeemed yourself from there, because we're still, like, that's the whole reason the police system was created. Slave patrol. Prisons are filled with black and brown bodies. Prisons are the new modern day slavery. You, like, this is how you can poorly treat people, poorly pay people, just disregard people. And then it becomes a thing of, like, even if they become free, they're still not free. Like, going into when I was talking about unprisoned, which I have more to say on that, and this is already 30 minutes. I don't know if I'm gonna talk about that in this episode, because there was, like, I was supposed to talk about something else last week, but then I was like, no, this is more pressing, so I might put prison in, like, another episode. But it's like, it's a cycle, it's a system. Somebody goes to jail for whatever that reason may be. It might be a misdemeanor or it might be a felony, right? If it's something that really endangers other people, right, like killing, murder, rape, that kind of stuff, then yes, throw them away and, like, lock the key. But y'all really be putting niggas that sold weed in jail for prison for fucking 25 to life, but you letting Tommy, who done sexually assaulted the whole neighborhood, out in 7 months for good behavior. What? Then be looking like Boo Boo the Fool when Tommy done killed somebody. And then it's like that, when you find that body and you connect it to him, it's a real brutal murder. But listen, y'all don't start that way. That take practice. That's not his first kill. That's not. Y'all just ain't find his first kill yet. Because y'all don't let him out because he was sweeping and making it to work on time in jail. And then y'all got Tommy's cousins and shit out here selling weed, making a profit. But Ray Shaw's still in jail. Anyway. So, y'all quite literally aren't trying to acknowledge the past. And you're not trying to really better that. And I think there was something else that was in here that I was talking about. But yeah, that was that. That were those. Yeah, so quick intermission for commercial break, y'all. Go ahead and use code BB Busted Nuts for your 30% off your next nut. Let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. That Flutter wine that I was talking about last week that I was so excited about, I used it 4 times in less than 24 hours, y'all. When I say I was BB busting nuts, whoo, y'all, I think I lost like 10 pounds, okay? I was burning so many calories. It was amazing. And if you want to hear more about that, head on over to Patreon // 2 scripters, 1 poll for toy talk, behind the scenes poll play, and Tales of a Central Fandom. In the coming days, I will be recording. I already told you I already recorded a poll play that was rooted more so in yoga, and I have to do a voiceover for that. And I just haven't gotten to that part yet because busy. Which I will explain to y'all at a later date why I've been so busy. But I already have a poll play in queue. First of all, there's 32 pieces of content on there. So if you haven't joined already, then I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. Okay? Support your girl. Support this podcast. You come here every week and watch this damn podcast and fucking knock your socks off giggling, right? Imagine the shit you'll see on Patreon. You gotta fit. Y'all see I uploaded. I finally connected the actual podcast to YouTube, right? So all my YouTube listeners, like, if you went back and started listening to, like, the episodes before I was releasing full episodes, come join Patreon. Some of them bitches is on Patreon. You like kikikikiing, but you want to see the facial expressions. You want to see the raw emotion. head on over to Patreon /2scribbles1po. Okay. I did do so before I masturbated with my flutter wand. I did a little recording. It's like real, like I ain't set up my ring light. I was just so excited because what happened, what happened was I started opening it, and honestly, I kid you not, when I opened it, the packaging, it just looked so beautiful that in my head as I opened it, I just heard ah, and a glowing light, and I said, oh my god, this is beautiful. And then I was like, wait, let me get a reaction. So I think I propped it up against my pillow, and then I started recording. I was talking about it, and I opened it. So that's like, I have a part of Toy Talk, and now I have to actually, okay, like collect the masses and like do a review. So it's in the works is what I'm saying, right? But, and then Toy Talk, not Toy Talk, Tales of a Sensual Findom, you know, I got a lot to talk about. New York was great. I'll talk more in depth, maybe. I don't know. But New York was a great time. I had a really good time. And yeah, fucking go join Patreon, okay? Go to Balesa using the link in the description and use code BBBustinNuts. Then join me on Patreon so I could tell you how to bust premium nuts, okay? All right, let me talk, okay? Anyway, back to regular programming. So just a like sidebar, right? I was talking about last week how I'm not super into, or I didn't really know, or I wasn't well versed in politics. And that's because, you know, a lot of like, this is really now the time where I'm starting to understand the world more and understand how certain policies and, you know, people that are elected into office directly affect and impact my day to day, my livelihood. Whereas obviously, like, my lifetime, there was Bush, Republican. Then we went to Obama, Democratic. Then we went to Trump, Republican. And now we're at Biden. And so now we are now where it's Kamala versus Trump. And part of what I had said last week is that there's a lot of criticism facing Biden and his presidency, but you have to, like, I saw something about like, oh, we thrived in Trump's economy and we're like doing so bad in Biden's da. Like I said last week, they're constantly undoing the other party. So Trump inherited Barack's economy, which he had for 8 years. So he did work in 8 years, because really 4 years is not enough time, as we can see. So Trump got Obama's 8-year economy. Biden got Trump's 4-year economy. And it was like, we see all the damage that has been done, all of the laws and things that have been you know, dismantled or created. And, you know, Biden had to come in and fix that. And I haven't looked super into like all, because again, this is really where this is the first time that I've ever been like, okay, like I actually truly need to pay attention to what's going on. Whereas like, you know, the first time I voted was Obama's second term, and I was just like, ooh, Democrat, it's a black person, I love it. And I don't even remember who he was running against, honestly. So, you know, it was just kind of like, I'm just voting. Then it was Hillary versus Trump, and I just know Trump. I was listening to somebody's conversation the other day, and they were saying that they can appreciate Trump's honesty, but that does not mean he is fit to be president. And I can agree with that, right? Like, and the philosophy was like, you know, Trump makes it clear, I don't like y'all motherfuckers. He be saying any and everything because that's how he feels. That is literally how he feels. Like, he tells, and I just don't understand why, like, black people really be voting for Trump. Because, like, this nigga hates you. He's made it very clear he don't fuck with y'all, right? So, like, I can appreciate the honesty. I know what I'm working with. But that does not mean, just because he's honest about everything he hates, that does not mean that man is fit to be president. Because now you're giving him power to like put laws and things in place against you. But y'all like him so much because, oh, we got so much money under Trump. Trump didn't do that. Trump made it easier, but Trump didn't do that. Anyway. Just sip my tea. But what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So, like, when it was Trump versus Hillary, it was just like, Trump can't do Trump, can't do. And then he won. I remember I fucking cried that night. I bawled my eyes. And it was like, this is when I was an RA too. And then, like, the next day, I remember on campus, like, it was just like, and I think that next day was a rainy day too. It was just like, it was sad. Like, I was sad. And there was this one housing director that I honestly could care less for, but she had like came out of her office, and I was sitting at the front desk, and she was just like, how are you? And I was like, I'm not okay. And I just started bawling, crying. And like, I remember her coming and giving me a hug, and like, I really needed that at that moment. And so then with Biden and Trump, it was just like, I still even then wasn't really as into it. It was more so just like, I can't do Trump again. And so here we are. But this is like the first time where I'm like, okay, I actually want to see like what is actually at stake here. What is being said, and like really trying to make it in layman's terms for me to understand. And that may not be more so, I guess, like when it comes to I don't want to say lower level candidates, but compared to presidential candidates, lower level candidates, what policies are they really supporting, or what's their history? And I think part of that comes into is that like one of my former partners works in politics. And so when we were hanging out, it was like always something, he had to stay up to date with what was going on. So it was always like CNN or something else on his TV. And so getting more exposed to it, because I don't really watch TV or the news. And then one of my partners right now is he's like a history buff, and he's really into politics. So it's just like I'm at a point in my life where I'm realizing, okay, I do need to be a lot more knowledgeable and involved in this. And then also I have people around me who are just naturally into it. So it's like finding its way. So universe, I hear you. I'm listening. And so, yes, Mama Mala is running, right? And so I think about the first election and the second election with Trump. Definitely, like, when it was Trump versus Biden back in 2020, I was constantly on edge. I was so stressed out. And it was just like, it was manifesting as just like a pain in my stomach. And I was stressed out. Like, that's the easiest way that I can put it. And I didn't really know what to do with that. And so with this election, I really started feeling that same intensity of stress. But now that I'm more invested in like what's actually happening, it was like really, I think it would have gotten worse as we move closer to election. Excuse me, that was sexy. I think it would have gotten more intense closer to election, but it was still pretty intense. And when Biden finally announced like he's dropping out and he's endorsing Kamala, like, I felt a immense sense of relief, but then I felt a new type of stress. And that's because, so in the past couple of weeks, and if I have any colorless folk that support the podcast, I hope that you've heard me talk enough about your kind. and that, like, you understand. I'm only friends with the white people that know white people are problematic, right? And if they aren't, it's probably not by choice. It's probably you're a coworker or some type of associate, and I kind of have to be around you for the sake of whatever else I'm involved in. But like the actual, like, the white folk whose numbers are saved in my phone that I talk to, that I will do, like, oh, let me pick up the phone and FaceTime this person. And I think of, well, I have a couple white friends that I really do fuck with, but when I say that, I think of three in particular. Three very, like, three white women that have just really been like, I fuck with you. Like, before, it's funny because before I was like friends with them, it was just like I would see them and I was like, it's something about your aura, I like you as a white person. And then when we finally talked, we were like, oh my god, like, I wanted to be your friend too, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is, like, I'm only friends with white people that understand that white people are problematic, right? So yeah, I say that to say, in the past couple of weeks, I've kind of come to the realization that, like, honestly, I feel like the evilest person on this planet is the colorless woman. And I say that because when I was in New York last week, so I got there, and I had a great time. Got there at like 10, going 11 in the morning, stopped by a bagel place. That was a really disgusting bagel. Was upset about that. Then I sat in Greeley Park, and I was doing some like prep for my session, because I ended up doing CBT, which was so much fun. I the sub that I worked with was Hoodman. So if you're like in the community or you know anything, Hoodman, if you ever come across this Hoodman, shout out to you. You have great balls for punching. But that was my first time doing CBT, and that was a great time. I had a blast. If you want to hear more, head on over to Patreon. Um, Tales of a Sensual Fendo. Anyway, so we did some CBT, we did some human furniture, we did face sitting, and then we did impact, and had a great time. After we wrapped up that session, then I was just kind of, my plan was to go to Central Park. And I was just kind of walking because I didn't have the mental capacity, or the emotional capacity to try to use the train system. I was like, I'm not getting lost. I don't really want to go downstairs with the rats. New York train system be looking crazy. I don't really want to get on the train by myself because I haven't been to New York enough by myself to feel confident in navigating that system. And like, it's been such quick trips that it's just like, I don't even have time to get lost. So my plan was to walk to Central Park, but by that time, like, it was going to be like a 30-minute walk, which is really nothing for me. But the issue was that I was going to get there, and then I probably would have only really been able to stay for like 15-20 minutes before I had to walk back because I was supposed to be meeting up with a friend. And so I got to meet, name dropped her a little bit, Maya Luna, Demina Maya Luna, that is my girl. So we finally got to meet in person. It was so exciting. So she had like a little spa thing, but I had went to, after I left Hoodman, I was going to go to Central Park. Then I started walking. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. What's closer? So I stopped by the Museum of Sex, and I was going to do a tour, but they don't do student discounts anymore. And I was like, the last time that I went, I don't remember it being that fascinating for me to be willing to pay like 30 something dollars. And then I was like considering paying 50, which is like, you get to go through the whole museum, you get like a gift, and then they give you some edible gummies. And I heavily considered it, but I was like, no. So I just kind of shopped around, like looked around the store and looked at their toys and stuff. Then when was headed there, I had saw a restaurant that was having happy hour. So I went and got me a little cider and a glass of wine while I waited for Maya Luna. Then we finally met up after her appointment. And then we went and got tacos, and we were just like chilling for like an hour, hour and a half before I had to go get on the bus to go home. But while we were next to Madison Square Garden, there was a taco place, Bomb Tacos. I got a chicken taco and a chicken quesadilla, and I tore them bitches up. Okay, fuck that shit up. So we were sitting there, and then there was a Palestine protest, and it became uncomfortable. Like, it was really awkward because neither of us had really knew that that was gonna happen, and it came up so quickly. And so it was just like it kind of put us in an awkward position, right? And it just because it was just like, obviously, as I've said, I'm pro Palestine, like genocide. There's ceasefire, all like I don't even have words for it, it's just wrong. And so, what made it uncomfortable though, it was that like we had this huge crowd, and then the NYPD. And how it happened, it was like tables and stuff, and it was literally like the protesters, us, and then NYPD was on the other hand. Like, we were in between the two of them, and it was so fucking unsettling because it's like it was so many cops. It was so many cops. Even cops that, like, it looked like they work at the desk. They don't leave the office, but they're out here. They don't have any type of security, anything. Like, they got on a polo that's embroidered. Like, they just outside for extra bodies. I don't know. But it was so uncomfortable. Like, they had on full riot gear. I mean, the face mask with the shield. One black woman who was a cop was just twirling her baton like it was another fucking day, because it was for them. And then they literally had like the cable tie handcuffs stacked up, hanging from their belts. And I'm like, there's nothing violent about what's going on right now. Like, yes, I understand you might have to be prepared, but this is overkill. You came outside prepared and expecting to beat ass. And it's like some of those, like, the more everything gets revealed about just like the police system, and we see it every day. Say her name, Sonia Massey, like Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Tatiana Jefferson. Like, I could go on and on, Tamir Rice, on and on and on and on and on and on. I could make a whole episode about all of the black people that have been killed by police. I actually did, I wrote a paper in undergrad in my English class. It was like, and it was so funny because like, I'm a good writer, but I never cared for writing. And I was really surprised my freshman year in English class when we had to do all the essays. I just kept getting C after C after C. And I say I was surprised, like, when I really realized my writing skills was like a little bit later, my junior year, when I had to take advanced writing. And one of my professors was like, you are really a profound writer. Like, you're really good. And I was just like, tell my English teacher from my first semester. But I just kept getting C's and C's and C's. Then the last two papers we wrote, we got free reign. So like the first paper, it had to be at least 3 pages. My paper ended up being 8 pages long, and I wrote about the difference. I think I might still have that somewhere. The difference in media portrayal for black protesting versus white riots, because that's what they are. The protests are for a purpose, bringing light to police brutality, bringing light to genocide, right? The inequities the disparities that people are facing. Whereas the white riots, there was, I think, like, I forget the year, but one year, Penn State literally, like, they lost their homecoming game or some shit like that, and like went and fucked the town up because they fucking lost a football game. There was another city that I'm forgetting, like where, but they didn't get to have their annual pumpkin festival, so they literally like lit torches and started burning shit down in the city. So black protests, people of color protests, like injustice protests versus white riots. So I ended up writing like an 8-page paper on just like the different comparisons and stuff, because that was also my freshman year was Freddie Gray and Mike Brown in Ferguson. But I remember when the Ferguson verdict came out, and like a bunch of people went outside, because if you're familiar with Towson, they have the towers, and it's like you have towers B, C, and D that surround Glen Dining Hall, because it's like Glen Towers, and then you have A that's kind of offset, but in the middle of the towers, like everybody, it was like this huge circle that came out, and people were just kind of like praying and talking and giving testimonies. And I remember this white girl came out to get her little DoorDash order, because she was so unbothered, and yelled at the top of her lungs, "We're not killing you! We're not killing you! What's your problem? Maybe you should stop doing it." What? Then in class, during Freddie Gray, I remember Towson wasn't as close. So I know like Morgan and I think Coppin and like other schools that were inner city actually had to lock down their campus because of what was going on. And I had friends who went and like participated in the protests and stuff. And it was like in class, I think Towson still, because I think they were also receiving like bomb threats. It was crazy. So Towson did shut down the campus, I think for just like a day, until they realized like our campus wasn't really at a threat, excuse me, or wasn't at risk. And I remember being in class. It was only me and one other black girl in that class, and of course this day the black girl wasn't there. I was the only one. And my teacher, I guess she had good intention, was just trying to see how everybody was feeling about what was going on. And listening to my white peers was just like, I was literally sitting there and I was just like kind of staring at the ground, tapping my foot. Like, this is ridiculous. Y'all don't know, because of course one girl just wanted to highlight like, oh, somebody lost their life. Why are people why is this, people are stealing hair and eyelashes and stuff from the beauty supply store, and that one kid who stole the UPS truck and is stealing people's packages and da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, this is the point. You highlight the most insignificant parts and try to make that seem like this is what everybody's doing, deflecting from the greater purpose, that somebody lost their life in the custody of people that are supposed to protect them. And we see this every single fucking day. But again, let's go back to history. They're not here to protect us. The whole foundation of this system was to catch slaves, to catch enslaved people and punish them. So it's still doing what it was meant to do. This time it's just like, oh, we're just going to kill you. And we're going to get away with it. Even with body cam footage. Now we don't see, I don't know, I don't even want to say we don't see as much of that. Like, because body cam footage, I really don't remember when it first started for real. But it's like, we still, with Sonya Massey, what's going on right now, like, watching that footage, and that's another conversation too, like black trauma. George, like, I don't know how many times I saw his last 9 minutes, and then to like see that over and over and over and over and over on my timeline, paired with videos of the colorless folk mocking it. I'll never forget seeing a fucking video of like this white girl pretending and laughing and giggling to do it to her friend too. If that was real, like somebody taking their knee and like jamming it into your neck to the point where you can't breathe, you lose your breath, you die. What is funny about that? In what world is that funny? regardless of skin color or whatever you think that person was doing. If you really think he was a criminal, lock him up and put him in the fucking jail cell. There's no justification for sticking your fucking knee in somebody's neck until they lose consciousness and die. So in this case too, it's like with Sonya, like there was nothing threatening about that video. I swear to God, I'm gonna shoot you in your fucking face. She's nowhere near you. Even if she did take that pot of boiling hot water, first of all, the most you'll get is a burn. I highly doubt you'll get, listen, send corrections to 2scribbles1pole. I don't know nothing at gmail.com. I don't know nothing really for real, like maybe a 3rd degree burn, but still. I swear to God, I'm gonna shoot you in your fucking face. If anything, you could shoot around her to put her in shock. Is it necessary to shoot? Absolutely not. But you could have shot something else to put her in shock to stop it, which, you know, that could have also then, I believe from what I saw, that she had a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia, which is why she called, because she thought that there was an intruder in her house. So you were supposed to come and look to see. You tell her to turn off the pot of water. So you put her in that predicament because really it was fine. Nothing was going to happen with the pot of boiling water. There was enough water in it for it to not burn down. And if you really felt like the water needed to be turned off, you could have fucking did it yourself. But you put her in that position. She was following your orders. She said, oh, okay, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. That could mean anything, but you felt so threatened by that sentence, you automatically said, I'm gonna shoot you in your fucking head, then went and did it when she listened. She said, I'm sorry, and then you shot her in the fucking head. And so back to body cam, you know full and well you have this fucking camera on. That to watch the whole fucking thing, and you don't give a shit. That bitch is fucking crazy. Oh, don't even worry about administering. She's dead. That was a headshot. She's done. So now you're bragging about it. I'm so sick of these scary bitches. Y'all are scary bitches. You have a gun and you're scared of a fucking pot of water, bro? And you're the person that's using up all these fucking tax dollars, and it's supposed to like be, you're supposed to be serving and protecting, but you're scared of a boiling pot of water? What? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. I think about Breonna Taylor, and that one really hurt because it was already a time, and I don't, I've heard different conspiracy theories and things of like, okay, she wasn't as innocent or whatever. That still, it does not matter anybody's past or perceptions or whatever. There's no justification for someone who was sworn into this system that is supposed to serve and protect people. There's no justification. Y'all are supposed to be trained. Y'all don't have emotional intelligence, and like just the whole, I don't, fuck a good cop, bad cop. You can't be good in a system that's fucked up. You can't be good in a system that's fucked up. So even if you have great intentions, and I think that even, translates to teaching, the more I talk to people who were teachers, it's like we have the goodest intention. We have so much heart. We want, like, we're here for the betterment of these children. But those restrictions that are in place make it hard to actually be able to teach children life skills, to be better people, in members of society for themselves and for others. The system needs to be reformed. In the case of police, I just feel like the system needs to be abolished, but that could be a whole nother conversation for another day. But because its literal foundation goes back to, it was management of enslaved people. And so we've just seen it evolve into what it is today. And like he just shot her, and it's just like that fucking crazy bitch. Back to Breonna Taylor, like that was really intense because it was like George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and her all at the same time during a fucking global pandemic where we're locked up, and we really have to rely on like either you're outside on the front lines that are fucking dangerous because you have these cops that are just like bust down in riot gear, and a lot of them being emotionally unregulated and being racist. And just like I was watching a video the other day of like the people at Union Station that were protesting for Palestine, and it was like some people that were definitely like, you're always gonna have your couple of people that are just like erratic and really being irresponsible in what they do. You're always gonna have that. And what media does is they highlight these people. They highlight those ones to make it seem like it's the masses so that you can justify the police beating the shit out of people. You can justify them doing pepper spray. You can justify them killing people. And you lose sight of like, what are we actually here for? We're actually here because you keep killing Black people and they're not receiving justice. These people are killing them and just walking away scot-free. We are here because there are several genocides happening right now as I speak, as you are listening, as you are watching on the day-to-day basis. When you're eating your ice cream cone or whatever it is you're doing, you're chilling, minding your business, or maybe, this is the day that you got to meet some quota and you want to go arrest all these people or hand out tickets or whatever the fuck you're doing. We're here because on the other side of the world, there are innocent women, children, people losing their lives on account of other people and their power struggles. So going back to Breonna Taylor, like that was just like really hard with everything that was going on and being isolated. And I remember that was when I was really like, okay, I need to go back into therapy. And this was the first time that I could say that I went back to therapy not because of a toxic relationship. This was just like, no, I need to talk to somebody because I was having panic attacks and like, you're by yourself, you can't do much. And I really made it a point. I was like, I want a Black woman therapist. And I had got one, and I was trying to talk to her about Breonna Taylor. She called her Rihanna Taylor and didn't seem to really know what was going on. And then she was one of those people that was like, oh, well, I heard that she's not really as innocent. That don't justify sending 6 bullets to her fucking house. Not even announcing yourself. There's no justification for that. Whether she was guilty or whatever. There's no justification for that. Especially, again, as someone who's supposed to be trained. So it was like, she threw me off with that. Then, like, I have since been forming a relationship with my father, and I've kind of hinted at it. I know when I started this season back up, I was like, guys, I'm talking to my dad again after talking so much shit in season 1. And then I was like, oh, he found my podcast, and I was, so we're building a relationship, right? And so, but I've talked about like, it really pisses me off, and I don't get it as much now, because like I'm not introducing as many new people to my life, and I just like, oh, why don't you talk to your father? Why don't you do this? And like really trying to push for me to have a relationship with my dad. And so she kind of did, like, first it was like, you couldn't even get Breonna Taylor's name right when it's like literally headlines. And then now you're talking about, oh, well, have you ever thought about doing this with your father? No, he's the enemy. He was the enemy. I don't want to talk about that right now. And I remember, I think I had either went to go visit my friend in a different state that I shall not say, or I went to go visit, or I had just came back from like a trip with to go visit one of my other friends who were in Georgia. And like, I think I came back from the Georgia trip, and they had their own protests and riots happening down there. I think they had shut down like College Park, or no, it wasn't College Park. It was somewhere. I forget where, but it was like they blocked it was really bad. So I had a lot of anxiety, and I remember coming back home and I was polling, and I had recorded the video on my laptop, and it was like, the pole is right in front of my door, so the angle of which I was recording, you could see me polling, and you had a clear shot of the front door. And I got finished polling, and I think I had watched a video, like I had got on Instagram, and that's when I saw like the multiple videos of the people mocking George Floyd. And I had my own little, like, I was really fucked up about that. And then I was able to like kind of bring myself down, and I started watching my pole dancing video. And I had this really out of body surreal experience, because I'm trying to watch me pole dancing, but the only thing I could focus on in that video was the front door. I could not take my eyes off the front door, because I just knew while I was watching that video, police were going to like bust through the door, or something was like, shots were going to come flying through the door. I just knew. You couldn't tell me, even though this was a recording of what just happened and that didn't happen. There was so much anxiety in my body that like this literally, and we see it every fucking day. Like as a Black person, I really have to like stop and think, is this action or is this situation going to put me in harm's way to be the next, like, say her name? Is it going to be like, and then even then it's like, I think about, if I were to die at the hands of police brutality, what would they say? Are they going to highlight that I'm a sex worker and find some crazy pictures of me that I may or may not have posted from wherever? Like, is that what they're going to choose to highlight? Or are they going to talk about how I was a teacher and how I inspired young minds and how I'm an artist and how I have all of these ambitions and what I'm actually trying to do for other people? And like, are they going to talk about the legacy? Or are they going to try to, oh, she was a sex worker, and then not even really clarify, even within that, what am I doing within sex work? So leave it up to interpretation for people. Oh, she was a slut. She was this. She was that. Or find some crazy clip of me talking about something on this, because I'm always talking about crazy stuff, and out of context it. And then that goes viral. And as a Black person, as a Black woman, that's what I have to think about. I think about during that time, it was like, for the most part, when I was going to visit my friend, I would take a plane, because it was like, listen, that was the best. Honestly, that was the best time to fly, because it was nobody in the airport. You could show up 15 minutes before your flight, and you was good. Okay, you was good. If you're not checking bags, you was good. Pop up right there, Uber right there, walk right on the plane, no worries. Okay, had a whole plane to yourself. That was prime. Flights was $50. You want to go to Aruba? $50. You probably couldn't go to Aruba because, borders was shut down and shit. But you get the point. So I was mainly flying. There were a few times where I actually instead had taken a rental car. And I remember I was on my way back, and I was in New York. And I was in like a random part of New York. And I was in a rental car. And I didn't know where the registration is, which I believe they don't keep registrations in the rental car because of theft. So I was looking for something that essentially didn't exist, but I got pulled over, and my heart sank, because on top of that, it was one of those moments where it was like, I'm on this trip and my mama don't know. So I'm like, what happens if this is like basically the end? And now my family's just like, what the fuck was she even doing in New York to begin with? How did she get there? So it's just like, these are things, as I stop, like I'm sitting here panicking, and whenever I do get stopped, I immediately roll down the window. I keep my registration in my visor, and I have my ID ready to go, so that when you get here, my hands are on the steering wheel. There's no question about what the fuck I was doing. I wasn't reaching for nothing, because everything I need is right here. That's something that I have to think about. That is something that I have to consider, because we've seen how license and registration, you go to reach for that, and boom, you shot. Oh, I thought he had a gun. What? What made you think I had a gun? I was reaching for the shit you told me to get. So I have to think ahead and just not even give you the chance to think I was reaching for anything. You know? That's how you have to live. I remember during that time too, I had one of my back lights was out. And I was like, I ain't had no food in the house. I really didn't have no money to DoorDash, but a bitch needed to eat. So it's like, okay, do I pay $1,100 to get some food to my house? Or do I risk going outside and potentially getting stopped and harassed or shot to death over a broken tail light? Do I really want to go outside to this thing because this could be it? I remember the first time I ever got stopped, I was in a car with one of my friends, and it was morbid, but I was like, I looked over and I was like, and it was crazy because me and him weren't the closest. I really didn't fuck with him, but that's neither here nor there, and there's no reason why. Whatever. Tangent, that's not necessary. But like, I remember stopping, and I was petrified for him as a black man. I like looked at him and I was like, I'm praying nothing happens, and I pray for your safety. I don't want anything to happen to you. And that was my first thought of like, I got pulled over for whatever reason and I'm scared for your life as a black man. I remember there was another time where me and one of my exes were outside arguing and a cop pulled up. And I kept trying to get my partner at the time to like, just calm down, please. Just calm down. We're going to talk about this later. Lower your voice. We can have a civil conversation. Because we were both yelling, right? But then it was like, once the cop pulled up, I was like, okay, I got to be hyper aware. This will not be, neither of us will end up on the news right now. Because there was nobody else in the parking lot but us and the cop. Cop pulls up and starts talking to us, and he's like, ma'am, are you okay? Ma'am, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. And like the guy I was with was upset, and I didn't feel threatened. There was no like, I was good, and I wasn't worried about him hurting me or anything. Like, truly, I was fine. And this cop just kept saying, ma'am, I'm fine. I told you I'm fine. Like, and it got to the point where I'm like, yo, shut the fuck up for a minute. I'm fine, bro. He keeps inching closer, starts putting on gloves, puts his hand on my partner. At that point, I was just like, what? Like, terrified. I think about when I was younger, and I don't have, I remember this in chunks, just blocks. There was one time when I was younger, me, my brother, my mom were at like one of her friends' houses, and SWAT busted in and arrested everybody. And this is, for a while, I didn't eat white cheddar popcorn, Smart Food white cheddar popcorn, or Edam's chocolate chip cookies because of this. Because I don't remember who was eating what, but both me and my brother were eating those. And I remember I was crying so hard that I threw it up. So for years, I did not eat either one of those. I didn't really start eating them until my adulthood. But SWAT busted in and arrested everybody. And I was just crying. I don't remember. I was younger than 4 for sure. I might have been like 3. I might have even been 2. But I was young. And I remember them like smushing everybody's faces into the carpet and all this stuff. And me and my brother are outside just like watching them just round up everybody. And one of the cops was just like, how does it feel to not have a mom? Like, your mom's going to jail. What? Like, what? That's insanity. So yes, it's fuck cops. Cause what? So back to like the protest and why I brought all this up, like me believing that like one of the evilest people on this planet is a white woman, is because like while we were sitting in the middle, me and my Luna, while we're sitting in the middle of this protest, we have the protesters, we have the cops. There was a white woman that came out of nowhere. I mean, she was literally just like enjoying her day, walking past Madison Square Garden. And I cannot remember for the life of me what, like, honestly, I don't think I even ever heard what she really said. But she started yelling at the top of her lungs. The most disgusting, like, I could just tell from the vibrations of her voice, whatever she said was disgusting. Yelled it. Everybody's looking at her like, what the fuck? Where did you even come from? Why was that? Why? Out of all the things you could have said, you could have just minded your business. You chose to say that. Like, so that was another confirmation that whatever she said was just downright disgusting. And then she just like looked around, shrugged, and walked off as if just another normal day. What? Then when me and Maya Luna separated, because then the protest eventually like moved on from where we were, and then I really saw how many cops there were, and that's when I saw just like the belts of cuffs. Just disgusting. Just blah, 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 blah. She told me that she ended up running into the protesters again, and there were more white women doing the same thing, just yelling. It was more of them just like yelling and stuff. And then I think I mentioned how I was watching them. So I had started season 2, finished season 2, and then it made me go back because like I was trying to figure out if it was just like another season on its own, but they do make the connection to season 1 at the end of season 2. So which was interesting that they had the same main character. The mother in season 1 of them is also the main character in season 2. Which I won't spoil the connection, but like the characters aren't connected. Like she plays a whole new character, but the storyline is connected. And so I wonder if season 3 they'll go deeper into that connection. Because I'll just say that people were related, is what I'll say. And so I wonder if they'll like go like back in like in between those two times. But like season 1 was talking about redlining and like the great migration of people moving from black people leaving the Jim Crow South to go seek new opportunities on the East Coast. And that's why you have like a lot of black people in California and like East Compton and stuff. So the family left North Carolina and moved to East Compton, and they were the only black family in a white neighborhood. So it is a fictional story, but it's rooted in like truth. And so season 2 really talks about like police brutality and like Rodney King and that. So in season 1 though, one of the main characters is a white woman, and it's like this family is minding their business and you decide to round up all the white women in the town and sit outside their front door blasting music, antagonizing them, trying to get them out. And then you as a community conspire to kill their dog as a way to like get them fed up. And then when she comes out waving a gun, whether you feel that was too dramatic or appropriate, whatever, but it's like you want to play victim and run in your house and call the police and do this, but you antagonized it. And so it really just like the watching them that season 1 was just like, this is so cringe. And then we think about all the Karens that just want to pick up the phone and call the police because all of a sudden they decided that they wanted to be neighborhood watch, and you can't do this. And it's like, you have no rights. This is a public property. I'm walking my dog, minding my business. You can't do that here. Or you see me outside gardening in my lawn. What are you doing? This is my house. No, it's not. You don't even live on this block, bro. You don't even live on this block. This is my first day seeing you out here. Who are you to tell me that this is my house or not? It's crazy. And like, you can go into reasons why. Like, I think some of it, this is hugely speculation, but I think about like, because really when it comes, like, you have the privilege of being white, so you're above people in that way, but you're still a woman. So you really don't have power. You're still less than the white man, right? And then you I think about how, and even still, for some white men, you're still undesirable. You're still undesirable in comparison to the black woman. Thinking about slavery and having your husband sexually assaulting enslaved women and having these quote unquote bastard babies, these biracial babies, because your hubby doesn't understand consent and is just so power driven that he just takes control of somebody's body. And now she has to have this child to put into slavery. And instead of saying like, oh, this is the white man's fault, who can't control his impulses and needs to be entitled to someone else's body, on top of treating them like shit, you're now shaming her for being a Jezebel or being this or being that or being some witch that is just like, oh, you've taken no. That man don't got no impulse control, and he don't know. He know better, but he don't give a fuck. He power driven, baby. So that's just been kind of my realizations in the past couple of weeks. And I just say everybody's names, abolish the police, like, it's just mm, 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 mm. I was going to talk about a little bit more about Kamala, but I'm at 126 and I'm recording day of, so I'll talk more about that next week. So, and I also had some Ask Mango questions and some other things, but yeah. So, Mango's message: lead with love and kindness. That is what the world is missing. Like, this world is full of possibilities, but everybody's so caught up like in their own truth that it can't possibly, other things can't possibly be possible, because that's not the life that I'm living. And in that, because you're leading your life that way, you don't express love and kindness. Like, if this world was just more loving and kind and more open to learning, we wouldn't have half the predicaments that we have today. So that is my message. Please get registered to vote. Do your research. Figure out what you're even voting for. Why is this important? What ways can you help? What can you do to help? And lead them with love and kindness. So y'all be safe. Make good choices. I'ma catch y'all next week.